What's really important is what the voters are doing and what the voters are saying and whether or not they're starting to become more active. And it's very encouraging that voter registration in Oregon is at a record high. But people have to realize that you can't just vote once every 4 years or once every 2 years and then let go and forget about it. You've got to stay involved. You've got to stay on top of things. You've got to keep writing, sending messages, emails, phone calls, postcards to your congressman, and they love that stuff. They have told us we don't get enough of it. Really, seriously. They want to know what their constituents are thinking and feeling. We're not attached to the legislation being passed exactly as it is. It could be split up. It could be done some other way, just by revamping the State Department or the Homeland Security Department. Doesn't matter as long as the primary goal of preventing violence is put in place to some degree, you know. And I'm convinced that when it happens to some degree and people can see the results, they'll get more enthusiastic about it and say, okay, we got to put more money in this. But it has to become a mission, like a mission to the moon, a national priority. We're going to bring down the violence because we know it's just costing us too much. I think the internet is going to continue to play a big role in creating a level playing field. I think people are going to start detaching themselves from branding themselves as Republican or Democrat. They're going to be more independents and less labels, and that's a good thing. People are going to deal more directly with the issues. I still carry with me a certain amount of cynicism about politicians and about the power structures that be. I have much more faith in the grassroots. And I have read articles predicting that if Obama doesn't carry through and do something about the mess that we're in and show some real spine, there's going to be what's called a loss of social control in this country. That all the precursors to either nonviolent or violent revolution, some sort of overthrow of the system in some way, is likely to happen. I think it's already happening in the collapse of the stock market. Somebody wrote an article on Common Dreams about the Wicked Witch is dead, so why aren't we dancing in the streets? And I think capitalism is in big trouble right now. And I think it will result, it already is moving in the direction of socialism with the nationalization of the banks. Mm-hmm. It's like, wow, this is unheard of, and it's happening very fast. So I think healthcare might be the next area that starts to be nationalized, and it may be gradual at first. I don't think we'll go to single-payer healthcare anytime real soon, but I think it's out there. I think there's a lot of support behind it. The AMA is behind single-payer healthcare. Can you believe that? I mean, those things are revolutionary. So I think that, and there's a revolution going on in transportation and our use of energy, and it is happening at the grassroots level. So you know, there is that song, Gil Scott-Heron, saying the revolution will not be televised. Mm-hmm. So I don't think we're going to see something like the French Revolution where they bring out the capitalists and they behead them publicly. No, I think the capitalists will just sort of evaporate and go do something else. I think they'll learn to be happy without money. My analogy is the dragon is eating its own tail. That it's self-destructing, and that part of that phenomena of self-destruction is this frenzy to go kill, go fight, go revenge, you know, for 9/11. But it's so one-sided. America cannot see itself from outside of itself. The internet has helped a lot, and a lot of young people are aware of how our reputation as a country has gone. And there's a real possibility that the rest of the country, or the rest of the world, could turn their back on America and stop using the dollar to buy oil. The value of the dollar could collapse. I'm not sure how this is all going to play out, but there's a rising awareness that we have lost a lot in the last decade as far as our world influence, as far as our economic power, and I'm not worried. I think that this is actually part of the crisis and the pressure that we need to wake up, you know? It's like, that's the problem, is that people are asleep to what's really going on. And there's a lot of screaming and yelling going on, saying, oh, it's your fault, oh, it's your fault, oh, it's your fault. And nobody, there's a few people who are saying, it's my responsibility, I can do something about it, you know? A lot of the times we use that word responsibility to mean blame, to mean I caused it, it's my fault, I'm a bad person. Whereas I think of responsibility as the ability to respond. And it's something that comes out of our own energy, our own willingness to actually do something about it. And I strongly believe that one person can change the entire world. Maybe not literally, but certainly profoundly. They can affect 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 other people who affect 3 or 4 or 5 other people, and it just spreads like a ripple. And I've seen it happen, and other people have seen this, where Paul Hawken wrote the book Blessed Unrest, and he's on YouTube, and he's spoken many places. He did research on how many organizations for social, economic, and environmental justice there are in the world. Hundreds of thousands of them. It's just phenomenal, and they've all happened in the last decade. And they're just growing at this tremendous rate, and it's grassroots, and it's everywhere, and there's no single leader, no single philosophy, but they are all pushing. And hey, something's got to give. And I'm totally optimistic that, yeah, the dragon is bad, yeah, the dragon is real dark, and the dragon can still do a lot of damage, but it's going down. You could look at what's happening in the stock market as something that's shocking and terrible and depressing. You can look at what's happening in the stock market as something that's normal, natural, and good. Yeah, it's going to be a period of confusion and chaos, but the people that are adaptable and can get through it without committing suicide in a way, either metaphorically or literally, will be the people who have a certain view and vision of their place in the whole system, the whole scheme of things, you know, and accept it and say this is okay, you know. And I don't know, you know, I could be wrong, I really could. But this is where my faith and my belief is, that we will make it through, and it will be scary. I compare it to being born, to going through a dark tunnel with a lot of pressure, with a very uncertain outcome. You know, we don't know whether we're going to live or die. You know, the whole culture, the whole planet could go boom, like that. And there's some people who seriously believe that it will. You know, all this stuff about 2012 being the end of life as we know it. Well, it might be, but it might be the beginning and the birth of something absolutely wonderful. I just think that the revolution that we're in is a very individual one that you're not going to read about in the media until it's all over, and they write the history books.